Welcome to the Church of Perpetual Life. My name is Neil Vandery, and I'm your officiator here at the church. We're live streaming right here in Pompano Beach, South Florida. If this is your first time joining us at Perpetual Life, I'd like to invite you to join our email list so you can get the updates on all that is going on with super longevity so that you may live a longer and healthier life. You can join our email simply by emailing me through the website at perpetual.life, and we'll be in touch with you. We'll send you monthly presentation information on what's going on around the world. I understand that many people are starting up meetups around the country, and our latest is in the Denver, Colorado area. So if there's anyone particularly in the Denver or Colorado area, let me know and I'll connect you with this group that is starting up. And if you'd like to do it in your hometown, let me know. We'll help you to coordinate that. So often I'm asked by people, is there another Church of Perpetual Life? Is there one in Chicago, in San Francisco, in New York, in London? But there's not. This is the only one. But luckily, we do live stream all of our services so that you can join us for all of our events. Next month will be on March 24th, on Thursday, where we'll have the immortal David Wood giving a talk. The Zoom party begins at 6 p.m. as usual, and the presentation 7 p.m. on March 24th. That's the fourth Thursday in March. Join me now as we go through as we recite our creed here at the Church of Perpetual Life. Our creed. We believe that all of life is sacred and that we have been given this one life to make unlimited. We believe in our Creator's divine plan for all of humanity to have infinite lifespans in perfect health and eternal joy, rendering death to be optional. By following our gospel, we achieve eternal life, creating a heaven here on earth. We follow Nikolai Fedorov, who taught that the transcendence of the Creator will only be solved when humanity, in our unified efforts, become an instrument of universal resuscitation, when the divine word becomes our divine action. And we follow Arthur C. Clarke, who said, the only way to discover the limits of the possible is to go beyond them into the impossible. And so we enter each day energized in spirit and empowered by the words of our prophets to live in joy, serving our Creator and all of mankind forever and ever. Back in 2016, Zoltan Istvan was touring the country in his Immortality bus, and we had the pleasure of having him come stop here in South Florida and speak at our church. And from that whole journey, they created a documentary which is now available on Amazon Prime. I'd like to share with you tonight the trailer for Zoltan Istvan's movie. Let's run the trailer for Zoltan's documentary. Immortality or Bust.
When he was 21, he sailed across the planet in a boat. He took 500 books with him. He's credited with inventing volcano surfing. Zoltan Istvan, he's running for president in 2016.
A typical transhumanist is somebody who has an interest in using science and technology to radically enhance themselves.
You know, it's like a port.
More body modification than anything.
So when I present my tag to the car, it unlocks the door. Another reader to start my car.
This goes right onto my skull.
Biohacking definitely is a hidden world.
This has been part of the problem with transhumanism is how do we spread transhumanism without doing something very provocative, what you probably really can't.
The plan is to drive this sarcophagus on wheels to Washington, D.C.
You want to run for president? It's like, yeah. Don't you think it's brilliant?
I am trying to essentially use my political platform as an agenda to push for transhumanism.
I saw this as a kind of science fiction, really.
I didn't come to die. I came to stay.
I mean, Americans just hate science so much.
I'm not sure about this eternity thing.
America's gonna just grab a rifle and tell you to go back to wherever you came from.
A person who's a transhumanist wishes for extremely long life.
It does not help the spirit of evolution.
To enable human beings to bypass nature
We don't really believe in that word natural.
You're a politician. You have to sell people hope.
The public is right, but the government is wrong.
You have to somehow tie this into the greatness of America.
I mean, we spend 20% of the federal budget basically on making bombs and defense and things like that, and just less than 2% on science and medical research.
Given today's level of technology, there's nothing more I can do for this person.
My father has had 4 heart attacks. He can't survive heart surgery anymore.
The younger we die, the better our species becomes.
Technology will make it so our lives are healthier, better, and safer.
We can defeat aging.
That's Zoltan Istvan's documentary on his tour around the country. And, you know, I was privileged to actually ride the bus from here in South Florida up to the ashram for the Terasem movement north of here in Melbourne. And it was an amazing experience. And it was great to have Zoltan. We hope that we'll have Zoltan visit with us again. And of course, we're going to watch this movie sometime here in the near future. Well, it'll be a great film to choose for a movie night at some future event here at the church. But in the meantime, you can watch this movie on Amazon Prime. I'd like to let you know a little bit about what's going on. There's an event this Saturday. Our friends at the Radical Life Extension Coalition, the same people that organized the RadFest, have a webinar this Saturday. So just go to the Radical Life Extension Coalition website and sign up. It's free to attend. If you have any difficulty, just email me. If you need more information, email me and I'll connect you and get you that information. Our mission here at the Church of Perpetual Life is to assist all people in the radical extension of healthy life. And we provide fellowship for longevity enthusiasts. At our regular services, we invite guest speakers to teach scientific rationality, along with the Creator's plan that humanity evolve to achieve markedly extended, healthy lifespans. As I mentioned, we follow the prophet Nikolai Fedorov's philosophy of the common task for humanity. Fedorov believed, as we do here, that we should divert human energies away from wars, away from dissensions, toward measures for protecting mankind against natural disasters, and those are including earthquakes and hurricanes, droughts, but especially aging. This is perhaps one of our worst natural disasters, the fact that we at this time are aging and dying. So we should transform nature from a temporary enemy into an eternal friend so that we can live unlimited lifespans. This church, the Church of Perpetual Life, is a science and faith-based transhumanist church. Our faith is in the Creator and in humanity to find ways toward healthy, unlimited lifespans. At this time, our services are virtual, and we'll let you know when we begin to meet back in person again. And once we do, we will still continue to have these Zoom meetings and hopefully Zoom interactive stations among our members here in person with everyone around the world who can join us through Zoom. Our speaker's topic tonight, the topic and speech title is The Power of Purpose. And after her presentation, there will be a questions and answer session. So please write down your questions, hold them, and you'll be able to ask them at the end of the event tonight, or you can text me in the chat box and I'll ask for you. The Power of Purpose. Our guest speaker, Greta Blackburn, graduated from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City and enjoyed a successful career as a model and actress. Her love of health and fitness eventually won out as she transitioned to founding editor of Ms. Fitness magazine. Greta spent many years as a spokesperson and consultant for companies ranging from supplement companies to product manufacturers. As her knowledge and reputation grew, she moved into biotech and pharma initiatives. She was involved in the early development of a company that produced the world's first telomerase activator, and she developed and co-authored the Immortality Edge, a perspective book about telomere biology. Telomere biology. Let us all welcome Greta Blackburn. Thank you for coming tonight, Greta. Greta Blackburn, The Power of Purpose.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much, Neil. My mind always goes to the low-hanging fruit jokes. So you were talking about preventing natural disasters. All I could think about is me after a night on the town in the mirror in the morning. That is a natural disaster. But enough about that. Here's what occurs to me before I get into what I want to talk about. You know, in the world, I'm going to narrow this way down to when I was helping launch the telomerase activator, and I co-authored and developed the book, The Immortality Edge. And in talking to people, we went around the country and we gave telomere talks, and we were explaining what telomeres are and longevity and living longer. And, you know, the number one objection across the board to the whole idea of living longer, longest, Aubrey de Grey long, you know, 500 years plus, forever. The biggest objection people had was, well, I don't know if I want to be around that long. I don't know, how much fun could I be having? Because the thing that comes to mind is being frail and feeble, and all your friends are dead, and you're kind of alone, you know, kind of this crypt crawling creature who refuses to get in the grave. So when your life is on purpose, when you're on fire, when you wake up excited about what you're doing, I think you want to live a good long time. So I think that in the world of longevity and extreme life extension, the power of purpose is embedded. Luckily for most of you guys, anybody who's watching this is probably pretty keen on the whole idea and probably has a pretty purpose-filled life. You're here, you're learning, you're watching, you're doing, you're not, you know, lounging on the couch eating Doritos and watching some goofy show. You're watching our goofy show, which is a good goofy show. But when you're on purpose, you're excited. You want to be around a long time. And I think that one of the things that is daunting for people, the other thing is that they have this idea that they will be the last, you know, their friends will all be gone. They'll be left alone on the planet and everyone else has died off or something. And certainly their family will have already preceded them into the big unknown, you know, in the ground, in a box, dirt in your face. Not that fun. So when people enroll their friends and family in this whole idea of not only being healthy, living longer, being on purpose, it's kind of like you create a tribe and you kind of guarantee you're not going to be the only one. Like those of us that are here, those of us that are in this tribe. And I love seeing people I know, like Tanya and you, certainly Neil and Doug, and I'm sure I don't see the whole screen, but if I did, I'd see others I know. We've been around for a while in the trenches of this longevity thing, and we have a community. And I love the fact that Perpetual Life is a community like that. So I'm going to get into what I'm talking about. I'm going to deliver a caveat. I'm going to deliver a disclaimer. I'm a boomer. I didn't grow up with an iPad in my pants. I am going to try to share screen. I'm going to try to do some things here. If all else fails, I'll just be back like this, eyeballing you. But I'm trying to add a little multimedia dimension to the whole thing. I could not, in good conscience, deliver any talk about anything about longevity without doing it in memory of my good friend and associate, David Kekich. Many of you know him. He was instrumental in the whole genesis of RadFest, which is so fun, and we'll be talking about that in a minute. But David, when you talk about purpose, you got to have David in there, because David is a man, and for those of you who don't know, David is a man who, before he passed last fall, around the holidays, maybe a little before that, was a man who decades ago had been a very successful businessman, athlete, workout guy. He suffered an injury at the gym and he became paralyzed. So his purpose initially, and he did pretty damn well at it, was a businessman, successful businessman. After the accident, he initially decided that he was going to dedicate his life to spinal cord injuries, helping find cures. But in the process, he realized, you know, that really isn't going to be the most advantageous thing for me, because I could die before that remedy is found. So better to put my energies and my efforts into life extension. So he was a man on a mission. And those of you who know him absolutely know that about him. This was a man with purpose. So I am dedicating this presentation to David, whom I love very much. And those of you who know him know why. So here we are. We're the power of purpose. You have to die in order to truly live. You have to die off to who you are. David had to die off to who he was a couple of times to truly live. And you also don't want to live simply not to die. You know, just keeping it together, get along to get along. That's not purpose. And that isn't something that keeps you excited and jazzed up and waking up excited to greet the day. So I did this slide because I like to have fun with things and because soul purpose is it's a big thing now. I pride myself on having this kind of zeitgeistian sense for what the next big thing is. I've done that in the fitness world. I've done that in various areas. And you don't have to have a zeitgeistian sense to know that this is a big thing right now. There's seminars all over the joint. There's find your purpose, sign up. I'll show you what I mean. There's life coaching there. If you Google purpose coaching, soul purpose coaching, there's going to be a mastermind. There's going to be a motivation seminar. It's business. It's happening. And because people see that this is where people are going, you know, we've been through, how many years is it now with what we've been going through? 2, 3, going on 3 crazy years. People's priorities have shifted. I'm sure that many of you will agree with me that people who you thought were friends, you considered friends, have kind of washed out over the past couple of years for whatever reason. People that you weren't that close with, you've kind of bonded with. There's been big shifts. People, you know, we're on Zoom. Why are we on Zoom? Because, you know, Neil and Perpetual Life would love to be live. But in lieu of that, we're on Zoom. So there have been shifts across the board. And now what's kind of settling in, shaking in, rising to the surface is, why are we here? How do I find out why I'm here? And what's my goal now? Because things have changed. So I love this. I have the gold, the bird, and the cage, because one of my favorite expressions is nice cage, no bird. So I'm just going to say that a lot of this stuff, like so many marketing ventures, that sort of thing, is much ado about nothing. You know, the old snake oil thing. The new gurus are the coaches, the mentors, this, that. I have a bitch kitty club. I'm not a coach. I'm not a mentor. I share my experiences with my fellow bitch kitty members, and we learn from that. And there are legitimate gurus out there, and they can help you find your purpose, and that's good. But again, you got to pick and choose and just be sure you're doing what you need to be doing. So So you might be thinking, why am I listening to Greta talk about purpose? Does she have a degree in purpose? I don't think anybody has a degree in purpose. I'm going to say that the reason I'm here is because I've been around a while and I've experienced shifts in purpose as a person who has worked with men and women since 1990 in dream teams and motivation, inspiration. I see what lights people up. I see what doesn't, and I see what works for those who are lit up and on purpose. So that's why me, but I'm going to take you on a little journey here to kind of understand, and hopefully, you know, there's an expression or a rule, I guess I'll say, in the marketing world today. They say if you're selling something, and I'm not selling anything, but accept my views about purpose, and if they're of value to you, then I've done my job. But they say, bring the people into your pain, meet them in the pain, share your pain. So I'm going to share some pain with you, if that's okay. Anybody want to share some pain with me? You're going to anyway. So this is my 2 cents worth. See, it's like multimedia. I say 2 cents and there's 2 pennies on the screen. It's amazing. Here we go. So you can understand me. And I think some of you will relate to some of this along the way, whether this is too early for some of you or too late. Jump on board my timeline train and see if you can relate to any of the things that have informed me and taken me from various peaks of purpose to pits of lack of purpose. So My dad was a military guy. That's my dad over there, dimples and all. That's me in the middle with the ball. That's my mom. What I love about the mom picture and why I use this one, because my mom's really good looking in that picture, doesn't do her justice. But if you notice, she's in a hospital bed smoking. Okay. So in the 50s, it was okay to have a puff. She probably had a martini after that too, and they probably didn't care. My dad was a Dale Carnegie course graduate. I was a Methodist. That's a Methodist church, and that's how I was raised. So I grew up in the 50s. I think it was a great time, but that kind of informed me. The whole idea of I had this military dad. It was a whole different era. And growing up in Indiana in the 50s was a pretty good place to be. Now we get to the 60s. There's me up in a corner, the speech and radio department. I'm in there somewhere. I'm always the skinny dork with like the pimples and the whatever. But anyway, so yeah, speech and communication was a big thing from an early time. We have Janis Joplin in the 60s. We got Jimi Hendrix. And we have, as most of us encountered in our lives, something imprinted and potentially affected our sense of purpose, our sense of why we want to live. This Blackburn Memorial was erected in memory of my Aunt Jean. So I think many of us remember this sort of, I don't want to say morose, but it's kind of morose, the visits to the cemetery with family. I can remember being taken to the cemetery regularly to visit, and it was just always sad because it is sad. And the whole idea of death and these people are gone. Now, my Aunt Jean was a USO performer. She was a farm girl from Indiana who went out west. She became an opera singer with the San Francisco Opera Company. She married a band leader from LA. They went off in World War II to sing in the USO. The last anyone spoke to my Aunt Jean was a member of the family. She called she found a phone somewhere in the Philippines they were on the island of Cebu or headed there, I'm not sure. And she said, I'm really nervous about getting on this flight. It's not good weather. I have a bad feeling. And she was correct. The plane was never found. So we all, as growing up, have the sad stories around death, and legitimately so. Death isn't fun. Losing the people you love isn't fun. So it's a good thing to explore this idea of staying around for a while, and certainly staying around and being healthy for as long as you can. So there's the 60s. The 70s. Oh, I was so cool. I'm in New York. I am on purpose. We're going to talk about purpose that is pushing. So here's the deal. Purpose is a continuum. And it's not like a round circle or a smooth thing. I think of it as like a jigsaw. You've got these points, these peaks that you're on purpose, you're on fire, and that can shift, that can change. The jigsaw kind of jigs into a little pit and then it jigs back out. So you're kind of going from peak to peak. And if you're lucky enough to always get inspired once you've jumped from one peak and you're kind of settled in, you're like, what's the next peak? So this is a first peak for me. This was about proving. So my mother, the one that you saw smoking in the bed, probably having a martini after that in the hospital, was very big on her daughter being an actor, being anything but a housewife. So we all have, again, the imprints of childhood. They inform us, they motivate us. And what I am doing in these pictures with my foxy little red bikini and my little bandana and all that good stuff, my studio 50 nights at 54, is proving. My purpose at that time was to prove. I needed to prove to my mother, I guess, that I was a superstar. I wasn't hurt. My mother's, the most denigrating insult my mother could give, particularly a woman, was common. They're common. So I was on purpose. I was on fire to be anything but common. So hang on as I do another move here. So here we have the 80s, and this is really juicy stuff, because this is a time I'm doing TV, you know, my purpose again is not to be common. I'm on fire. I'm going to entertain. Who I am as an actor. So here's someone had mentioned acting. So here are, all right, somebody earlier in the pre-chat, this is for those of you who missed the pre-chat. I had a question, tell us an acting story. So I'm going to tell one quick one here because we're in the 80s and that's when it happened. I'm doing a show with William Shatner called TJ Hooker. I'm playing a cop, fellow cop. And I jump in the car, which is where our scene is. And out of nowhere, he's got a hot dog. So he had decided when he saw me come on the set, he went, whoa, a big blonde. Literally, those were his words. They're introducing me. I'm the guest star. He's like, whoa, a big blonde. And he kind of walked away. I'm like, is that bad? Is that good? Is it horrible? Now I jump in the police car and he's eating a hot dog. So if you want to steal a scene, you have a kid, you have a dog, or as I found out, you have a hot dog, because now the whole scene is about him unwrapping it. And I'm emoting my butt off over here. I'm acting, and he's just studying the mustard. Does it have enough onions? So that's an acting story. I hope you're happy, whoever asked that. That's one. But in the 80s, I was exposed, and here we start to look at the peaks and the valleys and the pivots and the stuff that you do when your purpose has kind of fizzled out. And it doesn't always for everyone, but I'm speaking again for myself. I want to take you into my pain because maybe you can relate to having had a purpose and then going, I'm really not interested in that anymore, especially over the past 3 years. So I got exposed to a gentleman named Werner Erhard and something called the S training. We were called S-holes. People thought we were jerks. Werner was a powerful man, to this day, the most powerful communicator, motivator, I think. And it was a huge impact on my life. I did the full curriculum and I'm still a huge fan of that technology. Very powerful. So there's the 80s, Hollywood. The 90s. So now, and this is kind of interesting to me anyway, having done the S training, at which point there was something called the 6 day where you literally jump off a cliff, you do all these death-defying kind of ropes course stuff, but you're promised this is the end. There's nothing beyond the 6 day. You're done. The curriculum's over. You go off to life and you're finished. Well, guess what? They reinvented it and they now called it the Landmark Forum. I was pissed for a long time, finally jumped in, got over my whatever, and it was also fabulous. Concurrent with that, we have, and Tanya was talking about A4M, AMMG. Here's some AMMG and A4M logos. I started attending those early when there were some crazy small casino out on the fringe of Vegas. And frankly, Tanya, I don't know what era you started going to those. I went really early on, and the early life extensionists and their purpose, I'll say, was kind of strange looking. It's not like it is today. The men all had like toupees that looked like Elvis and too much bronzer. And the women were bizarre. It was they're chasing their longevity. They're chasing their anti-aging, meant trying to look like you did when you were 16, but in a weird way. So, but the conferences grew. They were great. They're legit, lots of science. I got very interested in the technology and the information. So I sucked that up, and I became a person who started looking at a mission that was really about getting people on board with their health. This picture of the Fit Camp, I invented fitness boot camps in 1990. This is the top of Hell Hill, aptly named if you look at the drop off behind them. So my purpose is now, I'm kind of torn. I'm still dipping into showbiz, but I'm really thinking it's about fitness. It's about health. It's about wellness. It's all that good stuff. Now we go to 2000 and beyond. So, so there's my Immortality Edge. That's about 2007. I'm now writing a book on telomere biology. I've been following it at the early times. You probably recognize this gentleman with the clerical collar on and the kind of dreadlocks that at that time was called Reverend Michael Beckwith. He's now Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, and he's a huge star. At the time, he had held meetings at a little, almost like a strip mall in Culver City. Powerful guy, great communicator, non-denominational church. I was in. It was a gas. It lit me up. He is on fire. He is on purpose. He was then and he is now. Of course, this is the era of Oprah and the beginning of the talk shows where people start talking about meaning of life and how they screwed up and all that stuff. A big time for that. That's me performing at RadFest and enjoying being involved in the cutting edge. RadFest is the cool place to be now in the anti-aging world. It is. And you can't have anything in this domain without having Mr. Falloon over here, who has just been, long before any of us, I'm going to say, even thought about this, Bill was on a mission. And again, when you talk about someone who is on fire every day, that's Bill Falloon and his mission to end aging. So you can't not mention him. My Werner Erhard days, my landmark days had kind of transitioned. And now I'm actually super excited. This gentleman's name is Garrett J. White. He has a program called Wake Up Warrior. He's on fire every day and on purpose. And he's the guy who's a perfect example of going through different transitions and finding your true purpose. So that's 2000 and beyond. That's kind of up to today, I guess we'd say. So I had mentioned purpose coming in varieties. You know, there's Mother Teresa. I don't think anybody questions. Mother Teresa came out of the womb. Like, that's Mother Teresa. People of that ilk who just, they were born to do what they do, and they did it from the moment they could until the moment they couldn't. So I'm going to say that luckily for those of us who weren't born Mother Teresa, there's that, I call it inborn, embedded. And then I'm going to say there's the acquired, learned, informed. In my case, I've walked you through a couple of examples how mine has transitioned, and I'm sure you can relate to this. Your purpose probably has changed. It may change again. And we're here on earth to expand. We're not here just to breathe and survive. We're here to expand. And I think when you're on purpose, you wake up every day and you expand into your purpose, and it just grows and grows and grows. And your capacity to withstand, you know, I think about what we've all been through here in the past couple of years. And I think, you know, I don't know if I could have handled it as well, and some other things 10 years ago. I'm quite sure I couldn't have. So the beautiful thing about expansion, beautiful thing about getting older, living a long time, is think of the capacity you can have, will have. That's pretty exciting, because out of that comes some miraculous stuff that could not have been foreseen years before for any of us. So purpose is not a static thing. It is it's a moving, it's a fluid. And I put life extension in the corner because perpetual life, one of the beautiful things about perpetual life is it's such a combination of science, and we'll call it religious or spirituality. And I'm proposing that my views on purpose, this whole idea of it comes in two varieties, is my own sort of scientific discovery. And I'm claiming that because, again, nobody has a degree in purpose. So I'm saying I'm an expert on purpose. So there's your continuum. There's your purpose. It isn't just a thing. It's not Mother Teresa, just Mother Teresa. It grows, it moves. And as it expands, there's a momentum, which is a beautiful thing about it. One of the things that is useful in thinking about purpose is useful if you're someone who's about to sign up for a course to discover what your purpose is. I'm going to propose that there are two pretty good clues, two pretty good tools. You'll find your purpose in your passions, you know, the things that you are really passionate about. And you'll find your purpose in the things that you love the pursuit, of which you love the pursuit. When you're doing things that aren't in alignment with your purpose, it's really a grind. It's really a grind. So when you're in that grind, that push mode, that's probably a pretty good sign that you're not in alignment with your purpose. And passion and pursuit are just very useful. And I'm going to use that word, tools. And the power of purpose is born in the fire of commitment to a passion. So when you feel passionate about something and you commit to it and you pursue it, there is an energy, there is a fire that is born. And that is something that can sustain you. And it can also verify for you. Yeah, I'm in the pocket here. I'm in the pocket. We all know when we're not in the pocket in various ways, but this is a really important place. You want to get in the pocket of that. And, whatever you can do to do that, whether it's a course, whether it's exploration, because purpose is not proving. Purpose is not me in the red bathing suit posing. It's not pushing. It's not doing something because somebody wants you to do it. It is embedded in you. It is authentically you. It is a passion for you. So my passion here about this whole topic of purpose is to do whatever I can to further inquiries into it for those who are looking for a nudge. Okay. So I'm going to give, and here I'm going to go. I don't know. This is, I got a couple stories for you guys, and the push and the pull. The question is not, are you just living to not die, but have you lived, and when purpose calls, you absolutely know it. So head case histories, I'm scientific. I had Life Extension magazine on my slides, head case histories. So let's take a look at examples of people with the catastrophes that surround a lack of purpose. So my first head case history, these are real stories. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. Nick, fictitious name, wealthy, successful, semi-retired, car collection that would make the Peterson Auto Museum in LA proud, Rolls, Bentleys, Port, whatever, homes in all the right places, memberships in all the right clubs. His kids went to all the right schools. His wardrobe has all the right labels. Divorced for years now. He has a Rolodex filled with beautiful, young, pay-for-play women. He's rarely wanting for company. If you look at this guy from the outside looking in, and I'm sure some of you know guys or women like this, it appears that he has it all: wine, women, and song. But here's the deal. No amount of antidepressants, therapy, wild nights with wild women can sugarcoat the unhappiness that underlies what's going on with our friend Nick. He's abominable to servers, waiters, and server people and staff at the high-end eateries he eats at. He is incredibly selfish. He's has an agenda. No one is going to take advantage of me. I'm no one's sucker, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, and this is a person who's now in his 70s, he is really unhappy in a way that guys that don't have half the material things he has. And I'm going to say that the reason for this is his purpose is seriously lacking. At the female end of the spectrum, there we have Savannah. Now, 7 years ago, Savannah was unemployed, broke, an empty nester, and needed some money, some insurance, some dental work, and a new car. She called a friend and said, I'm going online. I'm going to find a guy to pay the bills. After several failed attempts, this guy just didn't get it. I'm going to find somebody else. She found a guy who took the bait. 7 years, lots of toys, lots of stuff later. They're still together and she's miserable. She wants out. If only she could find the right job, the right whatever, she could break away and have her life. So when purpose is attached, and we know this, but when it's attached to surface stuff, when it's attached to things that aren't aligned with a purpose, it doesn't matter how much stuff you have, you're never going to be happy. So the pressure of finding your purpose, pressure can create diamonds and it can create earthquakes. It's just a question of how willing are you to undergo the pressure that it takes to lead an aligned life. It's not always easy. And too many people today, and I'm going to read you a story a gentleman wrote, his own experience, and he's talking about the sedation that exists. And the sedation that exists today is because of when people don't have their purpose. So you sedate: porn, booze, gambling, sex, drugs, stuff. We all know that. So we're going to talk about some tools that are very useful, but I am going to read. And again, we're talking about purpose and when you find it and when it calls to you. And those are the lucky people. So Mike Lafferty is a paramedic. Mike wrote me and I said, you know what, Mike, I want to share your story. And he said, yeah, you can. Because again, when you're pushing for something, when you're pushing, it's a weak effort than when you're pulled, when you're called. When you're pulled, when you're called, you wake up dreaming about it. So Mike was pulled by his purpose to become a paramedic. And then he was forced to make a little adjustment. But I want to read to you his story because it's quite a story. So this is Mike speaking. It was a day that left 4 feet of snow on the ground after a wintry night. I went to work that morning at the fire department as a paramedic. Our first call of the day, the tones go off for a pedestrian struck. We call out, paramedic 149 en route. The dispatcher replies, be advised, we activated aviation. Chopper's coming in. Mike talking. I developed this huge pit in my stomach as my partner and I look at each other and say, this can't be good. The drive was slow because the snow was still pretty bad on the roads, especially in the back roads. On arrival, we see a gentleman and one of our firefighters who drove his personal vehicle to the scene with a 5-year-old girl in the roadway being supported on her left side while CPR is being attempted. The gentleman doing the CPR was her father. There was blood coming from her mouth every time he tried to perform a compression, and we noted blood coming from her ears as well. We scooped the child off the ground using our immobilization devices and put her in the back of the ambulance. There was no respiration, no pulse. And because of the arrest, the cardiac arrest, we cannot utilize aviation. Therefore, we initiated a priority 1 transport to the closest hospital. We initiated our protocol algorithm for a trauma arrest. The child had a cardiac rhythm on the monitor, but no pulse, which is a bad sign. The story was from the father was this. The kids in the neighborhood were sledding out of the driveway into their street, which is in a neighborhood without much traffic. In fact, the family had moved to this area because the traffic was so bad at the last residence, they were afraid their daughter would be hit by a car. Hearing this story was heartbreaking. He goes on to tell, and she doesn't make it. And he realizes at some point that the mother was in the front seat of the car that was transporting her to the hospital. But what Mike realized, he said, I can still remember the lifeless child laying there with the same breathing tube we put in just over an hour ago. This was so relatable because at the time, our youngest son was 5 years old. The stress debriefing made it worse for me. A comment was made, well, this must be God's will. That statement haunted me for months till I made the decision that I cannot and will not accept that this God I believe in is just sitting on a throne, picking off people and destroying this family's life. It destroyed my faith and belief that religion is being totally dishonest about who this God we believe in is all about. My faith was gone and I spiraled into a place where nothing seemed to matter. I was numb. But his loss of belief was the biggest catalyst until a Franciscan priest pointed out that what I was thinking was not far off. He gave an analogy that always stuck, and here's the point. He said, God is like a wind that is constantly and consistently blowing, and he is in the things you see in creation, and he is also everywhere. We as humans have the choice to be in or out of the flow. Bad shit happens to people every day. Some is our own actions, some are by accident. He said, God is not there to pick or choose who lives and who dies on any given day. He is love, and he is there for us in our darkest times to give us strength to move on if we choose to seek counsel in him. Being a paramedic for 27 years will show you the real world, and the real world is suffering. Suffering because people don't have anything sound to improve themselves. They don't have a purpose, and they are sedating. So he came in and out of his beliefs. realigned with his purpose. He said, honestly, Greta, I'm still working on my soul purpose. I think in general, EMS has given me the ability to see the reality of the hidden world that most people don't see. And I can truly say that it's both a blessing and a curse. So there are the Mikes of the world fully on purpose. There are the Nicks and the Savannahs totally lacking in purpose. And at the end of the day, it's on us to get in alignment and to lead a life that's authentic and meaningful. And there are tools. It's hard to feel excited on fire about anything if you're in crappy health, so healthy body care, prayer, meditation, look for the revelations, spend time alone. Money, pot the in. It's important. Chasing the dollar is important. It allows you a grace in life with which you can fulfill your purpose and live with some ease so that you can also have a legacy and take care of those around you. Family, friends, sexual intimacy, all parts of the equation. We all know people who lead a life that has meaning. And we all know people who are, there's that expression, waste of space. I think anyone who's on this Zoom is someone who is definitely dedicated to not being a waste of space, on purpose, on fire. And the question just becomes, how will you expand beyond what you're doing now? Moving on, we're in these crazy, crazy times. I mean, as we're talking, there's some strange stuff going on in the world. It's a more important time than ever to have your tribe, to have your family, to have your purpose, and to pursue it.
First, Greta, we have a couple of questions for you, if we can address those.
Oh, I'd love to.
So Brent's question is, do affirmations help define purpose?
Oh, wow. What a great question. I'm going to tell, first of all, there's a disclaimer with me in affirmations. Okay. And people talk about the power of positive thinking and affirmations and all that. Affirmations are wonderful. I'm going to say that I think ideally affirmations work best if they're aligned with your purpose, because when affirmations work, it's when you authentically are connected to them. And I'm going to give you an example. So I can have an affirmation list all day long that says, I'm going to make $1 million next month. I am a millionaire tomorrow. I have a Rolls Royce in my driveway within a month. Those are affirmations. If in your heart of hearts, you're not in alignment with that, if you really don't believe that you have the capacity to do that, I'm going to say that affirmations are weak. Affirmations are wonderful. I think they need to be a part of who you are today, and then they can grow with you as you move forward, if that makes any sense. Affirmations are great, but they can't be pie. They just cannot be, I'm going to say, illegitimately pie in the sky. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it definitely does. Thank you, Greta. There's someone asking if you can tell us a little bit about the RadFest coming up this year and your involvement with RadFest.
Oh, well, my involvement with RadFest varies from year to year. It's October. I'll tell you exactly when it is. Hold on, let me get Mr. Daybook out. It is October. I'm going to October. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it quickly. I'm going to say the 6 to 9. I was going to guess 6 to 10, 6 to 9. It's going to be in San Diego. My involvement will be, I'm typically a moderator. I entertain. I do a comedy sketch with one of the RadFest founders. We have these characters, Mamie von Heinewood and Oleg Asperger III. We have some fun with that. We haven't identified exactly what I'm doing, but I will be doing something there this year. Thanks. And it will be a blast. We get to be live again. We've been virtual for 2 years. It's frustrating.
Yes, that's true. Looking forward to seeing everyone in person and being healthy with everyone. So there's a question coming from Jamie. his question is, how do I find my purpose?
You know what? And Jamie, that is such a good question. And I'm going to say it isn't necessarily signing up for a $2,500 course. I'm going to say, get out your Bible, get out your meditation head, spend some time in the quiet. It's amazing the revelations that show up. A couple of tricks are to write down things that you really love. Like if you could just spend the day tomorrow doing 2 or 3 things, what would that be? And another little sneaky trick is to ask your friends, ask 10 of your friends, say, look, I'm doing this thing, help me. I'm not completely crazy, just semi-crazy. I'm not as crazy as that Greta chick. Ask them to tell you, if you were to tell me to do anything in life, what do you see me being really good at? It's really useful, and sometimes it triggers something. And I'm saying ask people who really know you, not John Doe in the street. Ask people who support you and care about you. It's a really good experiment to try to do that. So those are some fun things. Meditate, pray, ask your buddies, what do you see me really good at? What do you see my qualities? Maybe write down on a paper, what are my unique, genuine, authentic talents? What am I good at? Your purpose is somewhere in that mix.
Excellent. You know, there have been some discussions that your fellow co-star, William Shatner, the person you were in the TV show with, it's possible that he may be interested in life extension. Have you heard?
I've heard that, and that does not surprise me at all, as long as there are hot dogs in the afterlife. Yeah, I think he is. I think he's not only sci-fi actor, man, but I think he thinks outside of the box in that regard. So yeah.
We may see him involved in the future with our different organizations that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
So someone would like to know about your Bitch Kitty Club. Can you tell us a little about your kitties club?
Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started. First of all, anybody who wants, male or female, wants to know about Bitch Kitty Club, please go to www.bitchkitties.com. Bitch Kitties, KITTIES.com. There's a place where you'll put your email and I'll send you some stuff. The Bitch Kitty Club was born out of the pandemic. It was born, and when I can really tell the tale, and I can't, there are reasons, and I have to be very sort of weird about this, but there are reasons. I can't tell part of the real reason, and it is going to blow everyone's mind. It'll be a Vanity Fair story. It'll certainly be on the channel, whatever news. So between everyone being in lockdown, between my one-woman show in New York, having nowhere to go because no place was allowing humans, I decided to revive some of the stuff I had done in the fit camp realm. We had dream teams back in 1990, accountability teams, support, motivation. And I was like, you know what? We can't do a fit camp because people don't want to go on a hike with a mask, number one, or a hazmat suit. And number two, they can't fly. So I put something out there. It might've been on Facebook. I said, hey, are you a bitch kitty? And people said, I'm a bitch kitty. So the people who raised their hand, they didn't even know what it was. I'm like, you are a bitch kitty. So the bitch kitty accountability, motivation, we're seeing women reach for goals, talk about finding their purpose, accomplished women who have great careers, finding their purpose and going after it. Doesn't mean they left their jobs yet, but they are going after it, getting at it. Kitties, we do kitty claws to the screen, and it's a pretty magical brew. It's really fun.
Any connection to your thoughts to minimalism?
In what context? Minimalism.
David?
Clarify. Can we bring David on?
Let's see, David, we'd love to have you join us or clarify any connection to your thoughts on minimalism.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, when you're talking about, expansion and purpose, somehow it reminded me of things that almost seem the opposite. I think of the monk, for example, who's leading a quiet life. And then I also think of this movement, maybe called minimalism, where people just getting rid of their clutter, and essentialism, where they're getting rid of things that clutter their time. And somehow I felt like what you're talking about is at the same, it seems like the opposite. At the same time, it seems aligned. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts there.
Oh, that is such a good, thank you so much for getting that clarified. Because by no means, when I say expansion and bigger and higher, I talked about Nick, the guy with all the stuff, is miserable. No, and you're completely right. When I say expansion, I'm talking about into your meaning, your purpose. And yeah, I spend a lot of time talking about being very quiet and very monk-like, we'll call it. It's funny, my post on the Bitch Kitty page today on Facebook, I just pulled it up, is a Carl Jung quote that a psychiatrist friend of mine in LA sent me. And it says, "Solitude is for me a font of healing, which makes my life worth living. Talking is often a torment for me, and I need many days of silence to recover from the futility of words." So you're 100% right. And it does appear to be a dichotomy. So for some people, I was thinking as I was about to talk tonight, and I forgot to say this, and I'm glad you brought this up. When I talk about your purpose, I was thinking about my dog groomer. Okay, my dog groomer, I have a 13-year-old dog. My dog will not let anybody groom me, but this person, I have to drive 2 hours to her. She is meant to be doing what she's doing. She is a gift to me. She's a gift to my dog's life. I think she's extended it. So her purpose, she lives in the woods out on Long Island. She's a dog groomer. You know, she's not showing up on Broadway opening night with Hugh Jackman. So you're absolutely right. There is a way to look at this that looks like it's two totally disparate things, but it's really not, and it's an individual thing. And certainly solitude and quiet and meditative introspection is a big part of this whole picture. Does that clarify it all? I mean, I really don't want you, I want to disabuse you of the notion that I'm just talking about, it's about, getting stuff and, because it's clearly not about that.
Maybe the term I'm dancing around is focus. That the purpose becomes focus maybe when you declutter the other things that aren't aligned with your purpose. What resonated with me is when you talked about when things feel like a grind, you can tell when it's not. And so I'm thinking about those words.
Yeah, and I'm a big person with the kitties. I'm always saying, triage, get rid of the extraneous stuff. You're right, focus. Get rid of the stuff that's out of your path, your line of fire on your purpose. There's no question about that. No question.
All right. Well, Greta, thank you very much for your presentation tonight and giving us some inspiration on staying on focus.
Yeah, and I hope so. And again, I joke about this. I've got a PhD in purpose. I don't, but maybe I'll make one up. But I have spent decades supporting people and going after what they want and kind of seeing the obstacles. And this just is a time where so many things have sort of, as I said, they've fallen to the bottom and other things have risen to the top. And I think it's a time when people are really keenly aware that they need to be doing what they're really lit up about. And also, I want to add one more thing here. It's about fun. The missing ingredient in so much of life right now is I encourage people, find something that's just flipping fun, whether it's on purpose or not, and just go have some fun, because we're all in dire need of fun.
I meet a lot of people, and so many people are telling me that they feel like they're trapped in a job that they hate. And this is exactly, I think, what you're talking to. Get out of those jobs. Find a thing that you're passionate about. Find a thing that you really enjoy, really love, really believe in. And when you do, you'll find success in that because you are passionate about it, and you'll enjoy yourself so much more. Your life will come alive. And this is what Greta is really talking about. Thank you for that, Greta.
Yeah, it's the grand versus the grind. No question about it. If you're a dog groomer, make it grand. Hopefully it's not a grind. So yes.
Great. Well, Greta, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. You can find this on our YouTube channel. There's a link at the top of our website for our YouTube channel. So please tell all of the people that you love, your friends and neighbors, share it with them and let them enjoy what we've encountered here this evening. Next month, we'll have David Wood, March 24th, and our Zoom party will begin next month at 6 p.m., March 24th, with the presentation starting at 7 p.m. That's the fourth Thursday in March. And I'd like to thank you for joining us tonight and for joining our live stream as well as our Zoom party. Be sure to get our monthly email newsletters for updates. Connect with me through the website. Share the recordings with everyone, and we'll see you again next month here at the Church of Perpetual Life.
It's called Forever Young. May the good Lord be with you down every road you roam. And may sunshine and happiness surround you when you're far from home. And may you grow to be proud, dignified and true. And do unto others as you'd have done to you. Be courageous and be brave, and in my heart you'll always stay. Forever young, forever young, forever young, forever young. May good fortune be with you, may your guiding light be strong. Build a stairway to heaven with a prince or a vagabond. And may you never love in vain, and in my heart you will remain. Forever young, forever young, forever young, forever young, forever young, forever young. Forever young. And when you finally fly away, I'll be hoping that I served you well. For all the wisdom of a lifetime, no one can ever tell. But whatever road you choose, I'm right behind you, win or lose. Forever young, forever young.